hope you are awesome this morning. We are going to talk about fear. We're going to talk about where it's coming from. We're going to talk about how it is holding us back, how it's no longer going to have the power over us that we're allowing it to have. And honestly, when we take it out of the picture, we will begin to see more of the life that we have desired and long to live. So, if we have not yet met, my name is Lydia. Hi. And I am all about empowering you to live your life and do so unapologetically. And honestly, to get to that point of living in a way that is true to you and is not so much focused on what other people think. There's a whole fear attached to that. It's going to require us to do some really intentional, might feel tough, but it will be very, very freeing work. And part of that work starts with breaking through fear. So, this is a very, you can even hear, I'm just with regards to getting the words for this because it's so massive. Fear has the ability when we perceive it in a way that is paralyzing, it has the ability to shut us down. We can instead choose to recognize what fear is, and we can choose to recognize how we respond to it. Okay. So, something I learned recently, and when I say recently, in the last 3 years, was the fact that there's a difference between who we are and what we feel. Okay. So, for example, I choose to, instead of saying I'm tired, cancel clear, I say I feel tired. Right. So, if there's fear that comes into the picture, it's realizing that fear is a feeling. Being afraid, however, shifts it and gives that feeling, gives that response, if you will, a certain amount of power, low authority when it comes to what we choose to do next, how we choose to conduct our lives, the decisions that we make. And so the truth about fear is this: one, fear is, on the very surface, we're just going to keep it surface level. Fear is an emotion. Fear is an emotion that's coming up from something that we've experienced. There's a circumstance that we've experienced, and it's generating this thought and feeling of fear. Okay. Fear is normally coming because whatever it is that we're thinking about doing or whatever it is that we're going into is not in line with what we expected. It's moving into an unknown in many cases. And because it's moving into an unknown and our brains don't know what to do with that, it's like basically getting to the end of a sidewalk and you're going, I don't know where to go next. That's what your brain's doing, right? And so fear is your brain's way of saying, okay, I'm not sure what happens next, right? Here's the thing. In that way, the emotion or the feeling of fear is letting you know that what you're going into is unknown. It's letting you know that what's coming up is unexpected. How we choose to respond is where things get interesting. Okay. When we choose to recognize, okay, fear is here, it's telling me something, I get to then ask questions. Okay. That is what I'm learning. And in many cases, it's me talking to my creator about it. Just, okay, what does this mean? Why is this coming up? Does this mean that I'm choosing then to move in faith, meaning I'm moving to a place into an unknown that I can't see, but I know that you can? Does it mean that there's something else that might be happening that I need to check in on another area? But it's not allowing for that fear to then grow, because this is where it ends up getting really tricky, right? Is that for decades, we've lived in a space where fear, we just push it off to the side, put it in a box, we don't deal with it, push it off, fear is not there, we ignore it. Problem is that when we choose not to address it, meaning that we just kind of we're going, oh, it's not really there, right? The thing is that when something comes up and it basically has that box to pop open, we're now dealing with fears and dealing with perspectives that were flawed, that were not dealt with beforehand. So now it all comes up. Okay. It's the equivalent of when your kitchen, you know how you work, you kind of cook and you're using all the plates, and for whatever reason your kids are using like 6 plates in the course of a day, and then it's just all the dishes are there. You go, oh, it's fine. I'll just deal with it later, right? Only thing is, it keeps piling up. And if you're not careful, you then get to a point where you go, okay, I have no spoons, I have no bowls, and everything that I could use is now completely covering a counter. And the sink is full, and now this feels horribly overwhelming, and I don't know what to do except maybe sit on the floor and cry. Or can I buy a new house, right? We start to now try to figure out ways to make up for it. It was because we didn't deal with it when it was just right there. We address it and move on, okay? So it's not about ignoring the fear. It's about diffusing it, right? It's about basically diffusing the bomb. When we give less to fear, that's how we become fearless, right? When we give less to fear, that's how we become fearless. It's about recognizing that when we go through life, fear is an indicator that something is going on. Okay? Good, bad, or otherwise. Again, this is surface level talk. There's a whole collection of things with regards to how fear, rejection, and all these other things come up. But just basics, as an emotion, it's telling us something. It is then our choice to respond in a way that's not cutting us off from who we're designed and called to be. That's where it becomes an issue. Okay. Is when we allow the fear of doing that art class, because it means it's going to be time away from the kids, and it's going to be all this money, and it's just this extra thing, but it's allowing you to pursue something that you have had a passion and a desire to do since you were a little girl. Right? It's the I have these ideas of starting a collective where moms get together and we swap out, recipe ideas, or we swap out tips, organization stuff. So we play off of each other's strength. But I'm not an organizer. I'm not a leader. I don't do that. And you're allowing that fear to come up. Or it's I really would like to go for that new position that's opened up. Yet I'm looking at all the other people who are clearly more qualified than I am, and there's no way I could go for it. And you allow fear to pop up. And so you just shut down. And you stay where you are. You go, well, at least, I'm grateful, I'm happy. But the truth is, you allowed that fear to then have its way in that situation. So what I'm inviting you to do is to realize the truth about fear, that it is what's holding you back in many ways. It's what I recognize as a daily battle. It's literally what I journal about. It's part of what I process through, and I cover it in prayer. I cover it in verses. I cover it in gratitude, in terms of going, I am going to make a choice that no matter what it is that I feel, what's the truth? Because the truth is what needs to win out. Truth is a very core value piece for me. And so I will seek after it. And even when it doesn't make sense, it's not about it making sense. It's about the truth. Okay. And so I invite you to be willing to take out that time to ask the questions, to write it out of, okay, what is it that I'm afraid of? Why is this coming up? Let me dive into that, because there's more to it. Not push it off to the side so that it pops up again. And all of a sudden I'm just, oh, right. But let's be willing to do the thought work and the heart work to really process it through. Okay. If that is helpful for you, I am so glad. Again, feel free to share this video with someone who needs it, and it'll be a benefit and blessing to them. We also, of course, have a Facebook group that is all about women who are choosing to find ways to embrace their genius, embrace their uniqueness in the midst of motherhood, in the midst of working, and to not allow for all those different roles and hats and titles, if you will, to cut them off from who they were created and called to be at their very, very core. Okay. And then that's right, I also did include, if it's of help to you, there is the Daily Clarity Journal. It is basically me going, this is what I would do. I would write this out on paper and then decided to make it into a journal so that it's available for you to use and has prompts in it so that you can process this stuff through as well. And I promise you, it is so freeing to take what feels like a big monster and to define it and go, mm-mm, you don't have rule and reign anymore. You don't. Not today. Not tomorrow either. Okay. So know that you are amazing. I am cheering you on. I'm so grateful for you. And looks like we've got a couple of quick things here. Yeah. So yeah, you had fear of your new Cricut machine that you just got. You really want to use it, but you're afraid of mistakes. Yes. Okay. So it's going, why is it that I am afraid of making mistakes? I can say that, yeah, that is something to explore, especially since we live in so much of a culture space that goes at making mistakes. Somehow, what happens if you make a mistake, right? How is it that you're then perceived? It's really diving into that and going, where was there a time in my past where I made a mistake and it's now brought up this fear, right? So, points to consider. And I am looking forward to seeing what you create with your Cricut machine because those things are amazing. And that is such a cool thing. I look forward to seeing what you will craft and create. All right. So, with that, have a great rest of your day. Again, know that you are amazing. We're going to fight fear. We're going to do it in a way where we cut it off at the knees and go, sorry. And thank you for telling me that you're here and that there's something else that needs to be dealt with and resolved. I resolve it. I walk in truth and we're good. Bye. All right. Talk to you later.